Hey everyone, this is Jay Soloff from Investors Alley, and this is our options trade of the week. Before we get started, just wanted to remind you that this is not an actual trade recommendation from one of my paid services. I'm going to show you how to analyze and potentially find a trade and then execute it, but it's not an actual recommendation. It is for educational purposes. At the end, I'll mention a link to my services if you're interested in actual recommendations that we track. So that being said, we are at marketchameleon.com looking at the unusual options volume page, which I sort by volume to see what some of the bigger names are doing. And I want to look at AMC, which of course has been quite active lately as a target of the GameStop crowd, the Wall Street Bets Reddit crowd, trying to get the whole short squeeze thing going on. It is, potentially a stock that could rebound after the pandemic, and so you're seeing a bunch of people try to get in cheap. It's a $5 stock. They're buying a lot of these cheap out of the money calls and trying to push it higher. And as you can see here, 80% calls, 20% puts today on a big volume day. So a lot of bullish action, most likely. It's trading 2 times the relative volume. Normally trade 200,000 is still a ton of options activity, but over 450,000 contracts traded a day. So a lot of action. So what I like to do then is go and look at the actual trades and sort it by quantity to see what some of the bigger trades are doing. And of course, this is a stock that's the retail crowd is looking at quite a bit. So a lot of smaller trades, but still a fair amount of bigger trades dealing with $50,000, $100,000 trades. So not necessarily institutional, but definitely some bigger size, possibly some bigger traders involved. And one of the things I was looking at here was this March call spread. So March 5th, a couple weeks from now, buying the 6 call, selling the 6.5 call. So that's a call spread done with the stock at 576. So basically, it's a cheap way to get some upside potential with leverage. Its gains are capped out at 6.5, but that also keeps the cost of the trade pretty low. So this was something like a $10,000 or $11,000 trade. So not a small, depending if you're a retail trader, that might be a decent sum of money, but not a lot of money to spend overall, particularly when you're dealing with 800 contracts. But this was 13 cents paid, and you can make 37 cents if this thing is at 6.5. At expiration or above 6.5 at expiration. And so that's about $30,000 on an $11,000 trade. So, decent bang for your buck, not a lot of risk, decent profit. So interesting to see that, again, it's a cheap way to kind of take a bet over the next 2 weeks that AMC is going to climb higher. So to do a call spread, which I think is a good way to get upside exposure without spending a lot of money, I will show you that really quick here. And here you can see this was when AMC was going crazy with the Reddit stuff, made it up to 20, has come back down, still a lot higher than it was earlier in the year. Of course, the company's been struggling with the pandemic. People aren't going to movies, but, that could change by mid this year and the next year. So this is a shorter term bet that we're going to look at, but you could also do this with a longer term bet. But here, this was a March 5th trade, so about 15 days from now. And doing a call spread is simply buying one and selling the other. So you can generally do it in one transaction, but you can do it in 2 as well. And you can see it costs about 14 cents, so it's a little bit, a penny more than it was earlier, but it's still, max gain is 50 cents minus whatever you pay. And it's a cheap way to get upside exposure. So I don't do spreads in Option Flow Trader Pro. We do straight call and put purchases, but it's definitely a good way to get started. And then we upgrade. If you upgrade to Options Insiders, then we do spreads and things like that. But Option Flow Trader Pro, there's a link. It's only $49 a year if you're interested in learning how to do call and put trades, and certainly been popular lately. So if you want to check that sort of thing out, then click the link. We'll be back next week with another trade of the week.